It's really a pleasure to be here today, and I'm a simple-minded guy. I tend to take things literally. Many of you, I know a number of you, and you may know that. So I just want to try, and I've been thinking about this a lot, and so change behaviors for the good. How can I shed some light on that? And I thought I would just go through some things and maybe get a little personal. It might seem a little harsh. I'm going to apologize in advance for if I offend you. I'm doing it out of love. So my basic premise that my whole point is that we're talking about this changing behaviors for the good and social marketing, and that's outreach, that's connecting with the public. And that's the piece that I really think is missing. A lot of us, many of you are with government, and we talk about that and we plan on it. We plan for it. That's what this is about. This is an actual outreach today. This is learning how to do it. This is the planning. And so we have all this bureaucracy and all this planning, but the actual time we spend connecting with the public, and that's what our eco-consumer program that I work on tries to do. And I like to call it outreach, but really even better is engagement, public engagement, connecting with the public, where either yourself or someone in your agency or someone working for you is going out there and talking to the public and engaging with them. So it's not just outreach, it's more like out-touch or out-connect or engagement. And I really think that we have to commit. We're sitting here today spending the whole day listening to how to do this. We have to be thinking, we're going to go out and do some of this ourselves, or make sure it gets done by people in our office. And I really broadly interpret public outreach. It's not just, it's industry outreach. There's some where it's to businesses, it's customer service, so it's connecting with the public and businesses. So I'm going to talk about some of the barriers. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think we need to do more of it? I just think it's not in our culture of many of our government agencies. There's fear. I'm going to talk about this a little more. But it's not. In governments, we get so wrapped up in our planning. We'll plan a campaign for 6 months, and then it'll be just a 4-week ad campaign. It doesn't really engage. We do all this bureaucracy, and the planning is just gets incestuous, and we don't end up doing what we really need to do is the actual outreach. And to me, the difference between planning public outreach and actual public outreach is like the difference between masturbation and actual sex. I mean, it might seem like a good thing and it helps a little bit, but it's really not the same thing, right? So I want to talk about the barriers. So I have my cell phone. Actually, it's not my phone. I don't have a smartphone, but this nice iPhone. I borrowed it. I slipped it out of somebody's coat. I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to use it. So this could be a serious tool for public outreach, especially if you use it for social media. Social media is so underused for this social marketing and reaching the public. But nobody does it. Hardly anybody in government. I do it a little bit. I actually don't use a phone for it. We're pretty visible on Twitter and are using social marketing, Facebook. But people might use this personally. What they're really doing, this is a barrier, I think, because people are reading their email. If it wasn't dark, maybe you still can. People might be reading their email right now. It's almost a barrier to actual public outreach because of all the time you spend learning your phone and all that. And I don't dislike smartphones. I'll eventually get one, and hopefully I'll really use it as a tool, but it can be a barrier. So just symbolically, these are hard to break. I thought I was going to smash it, it was going to make a great visual. This would almost be a good advertisement. for the iPhone. I didn't even put a dent in this damn thing. That's no fair. I can't believe that. Isn't that impressive? All right. So anyway, I'm trying to kill this phone. I'm not being very successful. Sorry about that. That I just want us to think about how if we're spending time on our phone, checking our emails, if we're spending time in staff meetings, all this bureaucracy, all this planning stuff, you got to do some of it. But every minute we're doing that, we're not connecting with the public. I think connecting with the public needs to be a real priority. The reason we're not doing public outreach ourselves and really emphasizing connecting with the public to do these things is that we don't have skin in the game. And that's getting to be almost a cliche. I've heard Obama talk about it as far as the fiscal cliff, and I heard Carson Daly use that expression on The Voice. And skin in the game, to me, maybe it came from street basketball. Maybe that's why Obama likes it, where you're playing basketball, and if you're leaving a piece of your elbow or your knee on the court, then you have skin in the game. So we got to do that. So the urgency of connecting with people, of actually either being invested ourselves or making sure people on our staff do this and actually connect with the public. Just think about these challenges that we have, these huge things where we're trying to make changes on. Global warming, reducing toxics, product stewardship, trying to get businesses to take more responsibility for what they make. Gun control. I mean, just think of how it's been so personal for many of us because of the little kids, what's happened the last few days. If that's going to change, if it might start with Obama trying to do something, but if local governments or whoever's going to change gun control, that's going to take public education, right? That's going to take political leaders and government staff, law enforcement people, going to the public and explaining why these laws need to be changed. People are going to have to be invested in that. People are going to have some skin in the game. So just to sort of illustrate this a little bit. So now I have a plan. I'm thinking I had an idea. I want to illustrate skin in the game, and I'm just trying to be a little stupid and show and bear with me here. So I'm thinking, so this isn't anything. I'm obviously not trying to show off my physique. No, I just want to show how we need to really be out there. And so I'm thinking I have this idea, I'll just do something stupid, I'll take off my shirt. I try to do something stupid in every presentation to get people's attention. And so I thought, but crap, I'll have this mic. What do I do with the mic? So I have a plan for this. So my tape. So I think I can tape the mic up here, because I don't want to mess up the video in case they pick me for the video. This probably isn't going to work. Stay on, Mike. Okay. Does that work? All right, so now I'm going to get serious now that I've bared myself. So let's just really think. I mean, when you come down to it, there's a lot of government people here, and this is the part I thought you might be able to take this a little easier if I really look ridiculous like I do now. And that is, this is something most government people don't really talk about. But we actually work for the public, right? We're public employees. It's public money that we're working with. And shouldn't part of our responsibility be to sometimes directly connect with the public, to make ourselves accountable and accessible? Maybe it's not our thing where we aren't the kind of person who can go directly to the media or go to the public. But we need to make sure that someone on our staff does that. And so it's public money, and a lot of us, another secret that, it's not a secret, but it kind of is, kind of thing we don't talk about, a lot of us make pretty good money. I would like you to kind of think about how how to justify what we do to the public. So many of us, I'd say there's a lot of people in here that make $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a year, right? I'm not going to have you raise your hands. Everyone's embarrassed about that. Nobody talks about that. But the public kind of cares about that. They think us government people, we're making this good money, we're not really accountable, we have stable jobs. They sort of resent it. And I think part of what we need to do is to connect with people, to be willing to go directly to people, spend a lot of our energies being accessible and accountable and selling these programs, explaining why they need to do them. So think about that. Can you justify? So if you're making a high salary, let's say your hourly rate would be like $40 some an hour, and you're all in this training today, and would you feel comfortable explaining to someone, a member of the public, your right-wing brother-in-law or whoever, that you spent the day and you made this much money? Would that be okay? To a lot of people, they'd probably say it would be okay if you were going to do something with this information, if you were going to expand your social marketing, or you're going to really make these better, or you're going to be more accessible to the public or talk to the public. I think a big barrier in environmental and social education, the people doing it, the government folks and the consultants, we're way too white. The people, the activists, the environmental movement, look at this room. There's a few people of color in here, but we need to make this movement within the industry, I say the industry within this field, we need to make it relevant so people of color are going to want to be part of it, and for the audience. This huge global warming event, Bill McKibben spoke and filled Benaroya Hall with like 2,000 people and get people going for global warming. It was almost entirely white. We need to change that. And that's by making it relevant. And that's a tough sell, and something, but that's something we need to be thinking about. And then one of the last barriers that I'll mention is, I think, standing in the way of a lot of this is our ego. Is the competition, maybe we don't want someone in our agency to do the public outreach because even though we can't do it, we don't want them to be the person who's in the media or something like that. There's things like that. And I actually am really proud that my agency, the King County Recycling and Environmental Services, we actually have really, I feel, embraced public outreach and customer service. But we can do better. I can do better. We can all do better, because that's what's going to make these changes. And just as one last example, one of my heroes, and I don't really know that much about him other than that I read this great profile in a magazine, but John Hickenlooper, who is anyone familiar with him? He is the governor of Colorado right now. He was the mayor of Denver, and I believe he owned a brew pub and was involved and started in a bad neighborhood, was involved in zoning and stuff, and was mayor. And now he's governor of Colorado. And he has believed in having some skin in the game in selling things. He had to sell a tax plan where people's taxes were going to be raised. So he did, to film for a TV ad, he did skydiving for the first time. Now, I'm not going to quite go there, but things like that. He did an ad where he wore a suit and took a shower in his suit, things like that. I think these are the kind of outrageous things Brian Cohen is going to talk about later. But just be thinking about how we can reach the public. It can be goofy, it can be, but I think it has to be sincere. And the main thing is just to do it. Don't just plan forever. Just don't let the bureaucracy take over. Try and make a connection, make a point where you're going to make sure that this public connection and outreach and engagement happens. Don't just, we'll do it in 6 months after we do our training, or we need to make it a priority and put it as part of our culture. And I do a lot of different public presentations. Usually I have my shirt on for those. And I I end with a quote. It's a quote that a lot of people have heard, and I don't know who originally said it. When I talk to the public, I try to inspire them to do things too, to just make changes. The way the quote goes is, if you always do what you've always done, then all you'll get is what you already have. And I think that's pretty common in government. We need to really make changes and think of how we can help the public make these changes that we're talking about. So thank you very much.